My name is Jeff. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's always good to see you guys. We're going to be talking about ways that you can use Google besides Google Translate. I know everyone's already familiar with that, but some other little things that you can use with Google to make your language learning journey a little bit easier. Let me just move this down. So if you guys have questions or comments as I go through this, feel free to post them. And I'll be sure to try to respond as fast as I can. Yeah, I got 5. Actually, I added a couple little things. We'll see. There may be a bonus tip in here for you guys for today. Again, 5 things that you can use with Google besides Google Translate to help you improve your language, learn languages faster, and things like that. And these are things that you can immediately do today, so it's not like something you have to wait for. And you can see the first thing on my screen is I'm looking at pizza, because what's a better food than pizza? Hey, Ibrahim, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by as always, man. And of course, Son, thanks for being here as well. So why are we starting off with pizza? Well, the very first thing that you can do with language is something just to be mindful of when you're learning a language, is that your mind is lazy. The mind does not want to work. So if you're trying to do something like learning a language, then we want to try to make it as easy as possible for your mind to do it. So that way your mind's like, okay, this doesn't take much work. It makes it a little bit easier to get motivated. So that's kind of something that we're going to be keeping in mind. One thing that you can do immediately to get to work in English without doing any more work in the future is, so again, I have this search up for pizza. What I'm going to do is right now you can see my search is already coming up in English, but maybe yours doesn't come up in English automatically. So what you can do is you can change your search results. Okay, so you're going to go over to settings, and you can see for me settings is all the way over here on the right. Not sure if you're Arabic speaker, maybe over here or something. Settings, languages, and then you're going to want to change this to whatever language it is that you're learning. Okay, so that way, automatically, when you get results from Google, it's automatically going to be in English. So it doesn't require any more work on your part. Everything that you receive is going to be in English. Okay, so let's just kind of compare the differences really quick. So if I put this into Italian, it's going to save my preferences. What am I going to get about pizza? It's going to want to translate it now, just as like a double check. Translate. Give that a second. And now everything has changed magically to Italian. So all my results and things like that. Okay, so that's the first thing that I would really recommend, is that you want to change that. So that way all the results that you're getting are in the language that you're studying. Okay. Takes a little bit of work, but then hopefully the settings will stay. So then in the future, all your results are in your target language, because that's our goal. Hey, Zobeda, I saw you made some comments on some other videos, and again, I think they were counted as spam, so I couldn't, again, I can see them, but I can't respond to them, but I do see you, just a note. Also, Ibrahim, I'm doing well. My allergies are getting to me because it's allergy season, at least in the US. So lots of pollen and lots of plants and flowers doing their thing, right? So allergies aren't great, kind of give me a sinus infection. But besides that, I'm okay. You may hear me a little bit nasally today because my sinuses are a little congested. Okay. And Son, thanks for the kind words. That's great. Okay. So another thing that you can do with Google to kind of check or to use it as a language learning tool. So Google as a search engine is basically a giant corpus. Okay, if you're not sure what a corpus is just like a huge amount of data that you can use and analyze. Okay, Google has billions of web pages, so Google has access to billions of different sources of information. So you can use that as an advantage to identify parts of language that are common versus uncommon. Okay, and this is really helpful for just trying to identify, if let's say you're writing an email and you're not sure if what you're writing sounds natural. Okay. This is not going to tell you if you're correct. This is not going to tell you if you're wrong. This is just going to tell you how frequently whatever you're writing appears. Okay. So for instance, let's say I'm studying phrasal verbs. So for instance, let's say I want to find out the frequency of different phrasal verbs. To give you an example, talk about, for instance, the word distribute. Okay, distribute. Typical enough verb. You see a lot of like Romance languages and things like that. In English, distribute, let's just kind of get an idea of how common distribute is. Okay, so you can see in distribute, I'm getting 2 billion results here. So again, notice what I'm doing. I'm typing in a word or a phrase or an expression, and I'm getting 2 billion results. This is all I'm looking at. Okay. Another thing too that we'll talk about in a moment, I'm going to put this in quotation marks, just see if that changes anything. Notice already, just putting in quotation marks gives me 185 million results. And well, so that's a big drop from what it was before, right? The last one was 2 billion without quotation marks. And then I put the quotation marks and then it drops down by a lot, 10 times less, more than that, to 185 million. We'll talk about the reason why that is in a moment, but just be aware that that's kind of happening. Okay. Let me just up chat's a little active, make sure I'm not missing anything. So I want to check out what's more frequent, the word distribute or some phrasal verbs that have similar meanings. So for instance, another phrasal verb, it would be like, for instance, like pass out. Okay. Pass out, I'm getting 17 million hits. If I take off our quotation marks, what am I getting? I get 1,490,000. Another what I may try like handout. Notice for handout, now I'm getting 9 billion results for handout. Compare that again to what was it for distribute? 2 billion. So handout, getting a lot more. Let's just kind of see if I put quotation marks around it, what will that give us? 20 million results. So much, much, much fewer. Okay. So this is kind of helpful, just typing in an expression that you're curious about and then just seeing how many hits you get. Okay. This can be helpful too for maybe you're writing something and you're just not sure if it sounds natural. So for instance, like I put the pot above, let's say I'm studying prepositions like above versus on. So I put the pot above the table. Or actually, maybe I'll just use, that's kind of a long specific phrase. Let's just use like above the table. See how many hits I get. Above the table, 6 billion results. Put in quotation marks just for, and again, I'll explain that in a moment. Getting 188 million results. Right. Let's now try on the table with quotation marks. So again, right now I'm at 188 million results. Put quotation marks. Now I'm getting 383 million. Okay. So above the table got 188. On the table got 383. So we're talking almost twice as common. Okay. So just by looking at my expression and the number of results, that's all I'm doing. I'm just looking at the expression and then I'm looking at the results. I can get an idea of what's more common. Above the table seems like it's pretty correct. I'm getting some options. Okay. But on the table is getting a lot more. Okay. So in general, I can start getting an idea to, okay, on the table might be a more common phrase than above the table. Now, this kind of ties into the next point I wanted to highlight. You see me adding these quotation marks. So these are not extensions for Google. We'll talk about an extension that I think is really helpful in a moment. But these are not extensions. These are things that you could just do right on Google, just typing in these things in the search bar. Okay, so again, I was comparing on the table, which got me 383 million results, versus above the table, which again got me 188 million results. Okay. So what I can hypothesize, what I can guess, is that on the table is a much more common expression than above the table. Okay. It's not perfect. It doesn't tell you if it's right or wrong, but it does kind of give you an idea of which is more common. Okay. And if your goal is to sound more natural, in most cases you'll want to go with what's more common. Okay. Now, you may be checking a phrase that's super specific and appropriate. So, there could be a situation where above the table is actually the better option. Okay, Google cannot tell you which one is the better for specific situations. It can just tell you which is more common. Okay, just something to keep in mind. I'm using quotations because when you add quotations in Google, what it tells Google to do is to search for the specific unit together. I want websites to have specifically above the table, that 3-word unit where all the words appear together, above the table, above the table. Yeah. So Beta makes the comment too that she does things like this on Youglish, and yeah, that's the same idea with Youglish, YouTube, most of your major search engines is the same sort of idea. Okay. So again, you're using the quotations here because you're looking for the specific phrase. If I type in above the table, hey Rana, thanks for making it out. It's great to see you. Everyone's here. I missed you guys. If I just type in above the table without quotation marks, notice that I'm not always getting my phrase. So I'm getting over a table. I'm getting just table and then above later. I'm getting in the table above. So I'm not getting quite the phrase I want. I'm getting close to it, and sometimes I'm getting it, but I'm not always getting it. So when I put the quotation marks in, then now I'm going to get exactly that phrase. Above the table, above the table, above the table, above the table, above the table. Notice it keeps going. Even if I go later on, like page 10. Above the table, above the table, above the table. Okay, so that's the value of quotation marks, is that it tells Google to just find that exact phrase the way you have it. Not variations, not things that are similar. No, you want just this exact phrase. Okay, and that's another quick way too. So for instance, if I spell it above the tables, notice that now I'm not getting any results. No results found. So that means that, okay, what I'm doing is definitely not right. Okay, so this is a quick way you can kind of check your grammar, check your spelling, or check your expression. If you're getting no results, then you know automatically that what you're using is not found in the language. Okay, so we're using English, so you cannot find this in English. Okay. Question. And if you guys, of course, have any questions about this, let me know. Son is asking, do we have a group on Facebook that we can all join? I do have a Facebook group. I'll be honest, it's if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you pretty much get the content that's on the Facebook group, just because recently I've been kind of swamped with work and things like that. That being said, I always have the goal of trying to be more active on there, and I have some ideas, some things I'd like to do with the Facebook group. So yeah, I will post a link to the Facebook group. I can do that really quick. Give me 1 second. Yeah, typically what I did in the past, not so much recently just because of work. Something I was doing in the past was doing some live sessions twice a week. I need to adjust the time just because it's just so late in the evening my time, so it's hard for me to stick with that schedule. But yeah, if you're interested in joining our Facebook group, seeing our live sessions when we have them, also little notes about lessons and workshops I'm running. The Facebook group's a great place to check that. Okay. Cool. So again, we talked about search results. We talked about changing your results into English or whatever language you're studying. We talked about quotation marks. Let's now talk about apps to translate. So this would be related to an extension. So what you can do is you can change Google so that way everything that you view, for instance, in Chrome, so Google Chrome, the internet browser, I imagine you can do this with other browsers as well, okay? But you can change them to automatically translate websites into a target language. Okay. Um, so for instance, if you're studying, when I was more hardcore studying Italian, I would just change all my websites to Italian. Now, one thing to know about this is that it's not perfect. It uses Google Translate. Google Translate features. Okay. Google Translate's pretty good, but it's not perfect. Okay, so just be aware that, the sentences you see, there may be some mistakes and things like that in them. However, if the goal is to just kind of get used to seeing the language, interacting with the language, I think it's a great option. Okay, so what you can do is you can change Google to automatically adjust websites into a language you're studying. Okay, you can see the instructions here. Okay, so I've included this here. It may look a little bit different because this website is from a couple years ago, but this is the general things you're going to see. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to go to your settings. You can see right now I have it in Italian. You're going to go into your settings, and then you're going to go down to languages under your advanced tab. So you can see you have all your options here in whatever language you're studying, and then you have the advanced options. And then the first one for me is languages. You'll see over here the different languages. So for instance, you can always add more. My suggestion is if you're serious, remove your first language. So you can see I do not have English here. I just have Italian. Okay. And then you want to check this. So basically it says that, hey, can we translate pages into languages that you don't know and things like that. You want to make sure that's enabled. Okay. What this is going to do is this is going to let you, again, when you go to a website, any website, you'll now have the option to automatically translate that website into whatever language you're studying. Okay. To give you an example, let me pull you guys back up because I'm missing it. Okay. So for instance, here I have this website talking about a basketball game. You can see right now it's in English, but if I refresh it, what's going to do is going to be an option now. I can translate this to Italian. I double click it. Now automatically, whoops, one sec. Now automatically the website's going to be in the language that I want to study. Give it a second to load because I pressed that video by mistake. Always things happening. Okay, so it's going to give you the option. It'll say, hey, do you want to translate this page? And then you can click yes, and then you'll be good to go. I probably should have picked a website that's not so intense with videos and things like that. You may also see up top that you'll see this little button up here where you can do the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to put this to Italian, give it a moment. And now everything is now in Italian for me. Okay. Again, it's not going to be perfect. There's a chance that there could be mistakes and things like that. However, if the goal is to interact more with your target language, this is a great option for you. Okay. It gives you the general idea. Okay. Practice your vocab, practice whatever it is that you're interested in. Okay. And again, so you can do that quickly. I'll show this one more time so you can see the steps that you'll want to follow. Okay. And again, you'll basically want to go to your settings. You can see your settings over here. Click the dots. Settings right here. And then you want to go to advanced languages. And then what we talked about right here. Okay. So that's a quick way that you can automatically start translating languages. Other browsers, I imagine, have a similar feature as well. So if you use Safari, if you use Edge or Firefox, I imagine they have similar extensions as well. But that's a quick way that you can interact with your target language more. One of the last couple things. Oh, autofill. Okay. Google is, again, super, super powerful. So what you can do with Google to get an idea of are you using the language correctly again. Notice that, again, Google's given me all kinds of options already. It's just waiting for me to decide what I want to search. Okay, these are really helpful. The autofill suggestions that you see are commonly searched features of the language. So this can give you an idea of what expressions are super helpful or super common. So for instance, let's say I'm studying a phrasal verb. Let's say I'm studying one of the earlier ones we had, pass out. Okay. So I want to find out what are some things that I can commonly pass out. Well, I'm just going to add pass out the, let's see, I had the board game, the chance, the paper, the homework, the opportunity, the song. So again, this is just giving me an idea of what are some common features, some common expressions that go with pass out. Let's again, we mentioned distribute earlier. Distribute, I'm going to add the. So again, you can change articles and things like that. So for instance, distribute the rows, distribute negatives, the expression, the wealth, the warmth, the following. Okay. Now, some of these may be more specific. Some of this is based on trends, things that are popular at the time. Okay, so not all of these are going to be perfect. But when you're studying a new word, I would suggest you want to find 2 or 3 common expressions at least to get started. So for instance, like the wealth, the following, these might be helpful ones. I can change the article too. So like distribute, a survey, a fraction, a press leaf, deck of cards. Let's also try and. Other things I could try, like other prepositions too, like the without or with, and things like this. Okay, so just using those autofill suggestions when you're learning when you're learning a language can be helpful for the understanding what's popular, what works. If you're typing something and you're not getting results, the more words you add, the more specific your search is going to be, or your results will be. So you can start getting an idea. I'm not getting many results. Now distribute is is a sentence, and now these things are making less and less sense. So this is going to be helpful for shorter expressions, but something to try. Rely on autofill to get an idea of what expressions are common. Okay. And again, like we did in the beginning, you can test out results and see how many you get too. Okay. Ibrahim's mentioning for our last point about the Brave browser. Ooh, I have not tried Brave yet. I've heard of it, but I haven't used it. I know there's also like there's a couple different ones that I haven't. There's so many, but I'll definitely have to check out the Brave one. Is that for like a security reason or stuff like that, like less tracking? Yeah, the last strategy for using Google that I think could be really helpful for learning a language is the image search. Okay. Images, when you first learn a new word, instead of going for a dictionary the first time, you see a new word and you're like, oh, I don't know what that means, so I'm just going to go right to a dictionary. Instead of doing that, what I would suggest, you want to have your mind work a little bit harder, because again, the more your mind works for vocabulary, the mind doesn't want to work, right? So the mind's going to be like, okay, I'm working really hard to find this definition, so I don't want to do this work again in the future, right? So it's like, I'm going to concentrate right now, do it really well, so that way in the future I don't have to put all this work in. Okay, it saves energy in the long run. Okay, so if you have a new word that you're trying to find, the first thing I would suggest, you may want to have safe search on depending on what types of things you're reading or things like that. What I would suggest is start with an image search. So for instance, let's just kind of see, we talked a lot about distribute. Let's just kind of see what distributing means. Okay, so for instance, I'm seeing here money and I see 3 people. Okay, so I feel like I'm starting to get an idea, lots of things about money. So I'm seeing distribute seems to be doing a lot with money, but also going to many different places. Okay, that's interesting. Let's try out some of those other phrasal verbs we talked about, like pass out. Okay, so it looks like pass out can also be something, for instance, like fainting. You see all these people on the ground, like, oh my god, what happened to everybody? Oh, she lost her cane. They're out. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm getting that pass out maybe one of the first definitions for pass out is, collapsing onto the ground. Okay, good to know. Okay. Let's try out another one, like for instance, handout. See a lot of hands. So it seems like handout has more of like kind of like a physical sense to it, and also more of a direction involving the hand itself. Okay, more active in that way. Okay. Um, Once you've done the image search, then you can move on to find an actual definition. My suggestion would be to try to find a definition in your target language. Try not to translate. Try to work with a definition in the language you're studying, especially if you're an advanced learner. Okay, so like if you're like level B2 or higher in a language, you really should be using your language that you're studying for the definition first. If then you still have a hard time understanding it, then you can go for a translation. But you really want to be working with your target language as often as possible. Okay. Um, this picture again is to get you started out, to give you an idea of how it works, and then after that you can find a definition. Okay. Also, if you see my other videos talking about vocab learning, that's one of the strategies that's super effective for learning vocab. Draw a picture of the word that you're studying. Write a definition down, find some example sentences, but also draw a picture. So this can be helpful for when you're learning vocab, or you're not sure what to draw. The image search can give you some ideas to get started. Okay. All right. Talking about Brave again really quick. Brave works great for me. More security, no ads. Always a plus. My wife always wonders. I do not personally use an ad blocker on like YouTube videos and stuff like that. And my wife always, she doesn't yell at me, but she's always like, "Why are you like this, Geoff? Why are you watching these ads?" Yeah. So again, guys, those are but the strategies I would suggest for using Google, which is obviously a super powerful tool. It's not necessarily designed as a language learning tool, but you can easily make it into one using these techniques. So just to kind of recap things that we mentioned. Someone has a question about how you switch off YouTube app. Yeah, I mean, they have all kinds of like ad blockers and things like that. I think some browsers actually do it automatically as well. But yeah, if you just go to like your app store, I'm sure you can find an ad blocker. Let's check really quick. I don't know what the best ones are. I don't know why it's telling me to search for a Google Pixel. I definitely don't want a Google Pixel. Google Store does not like me searching for that. Oh, I must be in like the Google Store for like the Pixel or something like that. Okay. Anyways, that's why, because I clicked the wrong Google Store. You want to go like to Google Play probably or something like that. Get one for your phone or something like that. Yeah, so you can see all kinds of ad blockers. But yeah, so just to kind of recap some of the things that we mentioned in a very fast version in case you joined us a little bit late. So again, you can change your search results to English or whatever language it is that you're studying. Okay, you could, let me zoom in a bit. So again, open your browser, settings, languages, choose your language. Okay, so that's the first thing that you can do. After that, second thing you can do, pay attention to things like your search results. So again, if you're just trying to see how common something is, we were comparing things like distribute, which got 2 billion hits, versus distribute, looking for that word specifically, which immediately dropped us down to 185 million, excuse me, versus like pass out, which again, specifically with quotations got 17 million. Okay, so pay attention to search results, see how common things are. Notice again, you can use quotation marks to make things more specific to find that unit. You can translate, the apps to translate, and things like that as well. And again, I had that. Let's see if I still have it up. No, still don't have that. If you go to your settings, click these three dots, or these three dots up here. Oh, wait, that's not the right one because this is a different browser. If I click up here, settings, advanced, languages, and then you can change your language here. Okay, so you can do it that way as well. Okay, so we mentioned that. Okay, I'll get rid of that in a moment. Yeah, Ibrahim mentions, it's watching YouTube ads in case you want to support the people you follow. That is something I would encourage. If you like someone on YouTube and you want to support them, blocking ads obviously is going to hurt their support because you can't get revenue from an ad that's not seen. Okay, but if there's other people that you're not, like a big company or something like that, you're not as concerned about, I totally get that. which is something to keep in mind for ads and blocking ads. Yeah. Ibrahim, that's actually what I do as well. I'll be honest. I don't block it. That's part of the reason why I don't block ads. It's just I do try to support. We talked about apps to translate. We also talked about, pay attention to autofill. So for instance, I can see different types of pizza toppings, pizza places, pizza food trucks, things like that. Pay attention. Gives you an idea of some expressions that are really common. And then when you're learning vocab, before you look for a definition, start with an image search to just start kind of getting your mind working to get an idea of what the word is. Okay. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much what I had for you for today. Now, if there's other strategies that you find to be helpful with regards to Google and things like that, be sure to let me know. Post them in the comments. I'm always looking for new strategies and techniques to share when it comes to language learning. But yeah, these are just 5 quick things that I found, or 6 quick things I should say, that I found to be helpful when I was learning languages more actively and things like that. Thank you guys as always for your time. You know that I greatly appreciate it. I'm sorry it's been a little while since we last talked because travel and that second vaccine. If you have not gotten your vaccine or you haven't gotten the second dose yet, the second dose is I don't know, it packs a punch. So just prepare for that. You might want to take a day off of work or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, ads. So I'm saying that sometimes ads are annoying. Yeah, I think everyone would agree with that. I mean, no one's excited about a commercial, right? But yeah, thank you guys so much for being with me today. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. Have a good day, have a good night, and a good afternoon. I will talk to you guys later. Ibrahim talks about my favorite extensions. Ibrahim, I don't use many extensions. I'm a very simple person. I don't watch much TV. I don't know much about pop culture. I don't use a lot of excess tools. I barely use my cell phone. I'm definitely the wrong person. But if you have extensions that you find to be helpful, I would be curious to hear those, especially when it comes to language learning. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Son, I'll look for you in the group. You guys take care. We will talk soon. Take care.